Welcome to the ASP.NET WebForms step-by-step series designed specifically for absolute beginners who want to learn WebForms the right way from the ground up. In this series, you will master key topics like the WebForms page lifecycle, working with the server control, understanding code behind structure, managing state, and accessing data using SQL. Whether you are a complete beginner, a student preparing for interviews, or a developer transitioning from other technologies, this series is perfect for you. Each video is hands-on with live code, practical examples, and project-based learning to help you apply what you learn instantly. Don't forget to subscribe to ASP NET and SQL Academy and turn on notifications so you never miss a video in this beginner-friendly WebForms series. Welcome to our tutorial on using the SQL data source control in ASP.NET WebForms. Start by opening your default .aspx file. From the toolbox, drag the SQL data source control onto the form and name it SQL data source 1. This control will allow us to easily connect our web application to a database. Next, we need to configure our SQL data source. Right-click on SQL data source 1 and select Configure. In the configuration wizard, choose your database connection. Then add an SQL query to retrieve the data you want to display, such as select star from your table. This setup is crucial for fetching data from your database. Now we need to bind the SQL data source to our grid view. In the properties of grid view 1, set the data source ID property to SQL data source 1. This establishes the connection between the grid view and the data source, allowing the grid view to display the data fetched by the SQL data source. Finally, it is time to see our work in action. Press F5 to run the project. Once it loads in your browser, the grid view should automatically display data from your database table based on the SQL query you configured. This demonstrates how quickly and effectively you can use SQL data source to manage database connections in ASP.NET WebForms. If you encounter any issues such as connection errors or SQL syntax errors, be sure to verify your database connection string. Also, check the SQL query for any mistakes. Debugging these aspects will help ensure that your SQL data source functions correctly. To enhance the functionality of your SQL data source, consider implementing parameters for dynamic queries, allowing users to filter results based on their input. Additionally, Enabling sorting and paging in the grid view can improve data navigation and usability. In summary, we have covered the steps to use SQL data source in our WebForms application. We added a data source, configured its connection and SQL query, bound it to a grid view, and successfully displayed data from the database. This illustrates the power of SQL data source in simplifying database interactions. Thank you for joining this tutorial. As you continue your learning journey, consider exploring data manipulation techniques such as insert, update, and delete operations using SQL data source. Learning about using entity framework with the ASP.NET Web Forms can also enhance your applications. Finally, investigate advanced data display features to maximize usability. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tutorials. SQL data source supports query parameters which allow dynamic filtering of data. For example, you can retrieve employees from a specific department by using a parameter in your SQL query. You can set default values declaratively or assign parameter values in your code for greater flexibility. SQL data source can manage not only data retrieval but also insert, update, and delete operations. By setting corresponding SQL commands and enabling editing features in Grid View, you allow users to modify database records directly through the UI. Control parameters let you bind SQL data source parameters to user input controls such as text boxes. This enables dynamic queries based on user input, making your data retrieval interactive and responsive. Enhance the user experience by enabling sorting and paging on your grid view. When paired with the SQL data source, these features allow users to easily navigate and organize large data sets. Security is vital when working with the databases. Always use parameters in your SQL data source queries to prevent SQL injection attacks. Avoid building SQL statements by concatenating user input. For added security, consider using stored procedures. When debugging SQL data source, enabling tracing can help you see what queries are executed and identify errors. Testing your database connection in Visual Studio also helps. Additionally, handling SQL data source events lets you catch and manage exceptions gracefully. To recap, we covered advanced SQL data source topics such as using parameters, performing CRUD operations, securing your queries, and enabling sorting and paging. As a challenge, try building a searchable employee directory using SQL data source that includes paging and sorting features.